I invite our first keynote speaker, Aldis Ērglis. Aldis Ērglis has more than 25 years of experience in software development, engineering consulting, and technology leadership. His expertise spans intelligent automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics. And now he will deliver a keynote Beyond the Canvas, Multimodal Interpretation of Art Masterpieces via Google Nano Banana 2. And as a technical note, so the lecture will be approximately 1 hour long, or more or less. And please write down your questions, because after the lecture, we will have a questions and answers session, and try not to forget what you wanted to ask. And then I will go around with the microphone, and we'll have our discussion. But now welcome, Aldis Ērglis.
Thank you, Anda. Yeah, hello and welcome. And as you heard, I'm a more technical person, maybe. Yeah, and so probably you will need to forgive me some maybe if something is incorrect in a field of art and etc. So, and today the main topic is on what discussion that we need to go through together is actually, can technology help us understand art, and in this case, fine art better somehow? And as you see in the title, we are talking about multimodal LLMs, and as you know, nowadays we have not separate model for generating pictures or understanding pictures and then generating text. We have already in the latest models from all the labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Gemini and Google. We have models which include all the models inside. So how to understand, how technology can understand art as better. And then opening picture, you could see this Arnolfini family by Jan van Eyck. Yeah, you know it from heart. I need to write it down. But yeah, it's very important, you know that there is a lot of symbolism in this painting. And so many details. The dog, oh, it's not visible. Yeah, yeah. So the dog is important, and also convex mirror. You can see that we can see reflection of the painter and the family from the back, and the symbol of convex mirror on that time was it's a regular piece in any merchant's home, and it's actually giving some luck in this in this family. And do you think, who thinks that lady, the wife of Arnolfini, is pregnant? Who thinks she's pregnant? No? You don't have eyes or what? So actually, no, it's how painters painted any young woman in Renaissance, so that she can produce children. So it's not necessary she's pregnant, but she is able to provide a child. And yeah, to understand, to take an example and of how we could analyze fine art, of course, I took the Western art, something that is more closer to our culture understanding. And when you remember the last time you've been in museum, so you're going around, looking at the picture, at paintings, looking at the descriptions maybe, and how many paintings you're looking at in one time in one session, maybe tens of them, and etc. And it's really important how to read them, because some of them we can't recognize, especially if the painter is very famous, and we are taking a look and try to get something out of it. But it's, of course, it's some codes, some symbols that are inside the paintings. And as art historians are saying, actually the paintings are like a window to the epoch, to the time when it was created. So actually we need to read in the painting, through the painting, what was important in that time when the painting was created. And most almost, if you talk about, like in this presentation, I try to cover works from 1400 until 1600. It's a Renaissance and early Baroque. So it's deeply symbolic paintings, and they are created for reasons, and there is no like accident or some just technical thing like maybe we could experience nowadays. So question, how to understand painting? Do you understand painting? Do we understand painting? And actually what the art historians say, we need to read first before we go to the museum or to somewhere else to look at the paintings. And the corpus of reading is actually quite big, yeah. And to understand Renaissance art, actually you need to at least read these things. So we will just take after the presentation all the these reader cards on dimension, and we'll go to library and read. I'm joking, yeah? So of course we don't have time to read all of this. Probably we could, now the Odyssey movie is out, yeah? So maybe we could go and watch it on IMAX in Riga, actually, if you have a plan for, or need a plan for evenings. So there is a IMAX cinema, so in Riga, and you could go and look for Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. And yeah, a lot of things, and a lot of these books here, you can see, they are actually poetry. So it's not just something we are reading through and it's done, right? And a lot of symbols there and things that are quite distant from our time. And to understand how we understand actually paintings in particular and art together is actually, it's our interpretation and our procession of these images, of these symbols in our brains. Actually, understanding of art is in our brains. So it's inside our brains, and it's how we can visualize it and how we can connect it with all the stories, history, etc., that we have in our head. And I as a more technical person, and more than 12 years I'm running a Power BI community here in Riga. So I tried always to visualize things and try to find a ways how to visualize different things and put this mainly business symbols. But to understand any of visualization, including business visualization, we need to understand these symbols. What is KPI? What is here? What is map? Same in art. And if we start with understanding and more technical analysis, as the purpose of this lecture is that, let's start with one of the very famous pictures. You must know it. So it's in the opening halls in Uffizi Gallery in Florence, and you're coming in. You look at it's around, if I remember right, by 3 meters by 1.5 meters, something like that, on the wall created by Sandro Botticelli, and it was a first non-religion paint, one of the first non-religion paintings created for pleasure, and it's a first life-size female nude in a painting since antiquity. Not much from antiquity left, only what we know by some wall paintings from Pompeii and other places in Italy. So he created this image, and by the Renaissance standards, maybe it's not very technical painting, because here is one of the things that is lacking is perspective. But actually, if we think how it's actually created, right? How he created it, and it's a question I asked myself several times. So, are these painters? Well, how they do that? Are they just close their eyes and then image appears in the head, and then they open eyes and paint it? And actually, if you go deeper, you start understanding that no, most of them are creating out of some story, out of some text, actually. And then they're referring back to our book story. And if we talk about text, that here is actually the fragment of one of the Homeric hymns where Aphrodite is coming out of the sea and what's happening around, etc. It's what obviously Botticelli read, and then he imagined it, how it should look like. And even more, just a little bit going aside and understanding how the text is connected to the image, because that is where probably one of the ways how we could technically start analyzing this picture. So if we could get text out of it or generate image from the text. So we start understanding, okay, there's something around it. And one of the, I would say for me, one of the famous examples of how the text actually influencing some product of the culture, and it's Vivaldi Four Seasons. I'm sure I'm saying Vivaldi Four Seasons, and you have immediately like playing music in your head, right? And sometimes, and one interesting thing about Vivaldi Four Seasons, you know, Vivaldi is a Venetian Baroque composer, so it's 1700s, like 18th century. But actually, Four Seasons was lost for more than 200 years, and just discovered in some small building by accident at the end of Second World War. Imagine it was lost so imagine Goethe or someone else, they never heard Four Seasons. So we have a privilege of hear that composition. An interesting thing that sometimes we are listening it, and it's expression, it's music, and we try imagine, okay, what's happening there, right? But actually, it's based on 4 sonnets. It was originally, there's 4 sonnets. You could find them on the internet, originally in Italian, of course. But here is a translation of Autumn Sonnet, one of the sonnets. So actually, you could find these sonnets, and the legend, more or less, is that Vivaldi read these sonnets and then wrote the music, right? And when we start reading these sonnets, like poetry, so definitely it's a not story. It's some kind of different narrative. Yeah, we could find these things that are in the music. So it shows that there is a very, very close connection between text and image, and especially on creation side. And again, starting asking this question again: can technology help us understand culture or painting in this art? And interesting that the first time when the word culture appears in writings, and we are talking about cultural data, yeah, right? So first time, all from the old time, it actually appears in one of the, in Roman Empire's citizen Cicero writings, when he is talking agricultura. So it's the first time in the history when the word culture appears. And what culture for us means a lot of things. But originally it was a way how we cultivate the land. So we cultivate the land, the culture is cultivation of land, that we are getting more output out of it. And later, in Renaissance, people take the same word, culture, and say it's a way how we cultivate people understanding, people brains, to get more results of us. Yeah, so culture means actually how we could cultivate ourselves and get something out of it. And again, very, very famous picture. It's painting by Andrea Mantegna in Mantua. So it's one of the perspective. You can see already this perspective illusion, and at this point we could say that the painters on that time, of course, they tried to build in some understanding of it, but also we could say that it's first time when they maybe invented augmented reality or virtual reality, something like that. Because if you've been in the room where this painting fresco is located, so actually it's not a very big room with a high ceiling. So, but when you come in, you need to look up on the ceiling, and then you start seeing this illusion, like virtual reality, when this perspective makes us feeling that there is a oculus in a ceiling, like in Pantheon, and we see the real skies. And that also we could start analyzing it, like making some blueprints. And some things, of course, are especially in art, making us a little bit, how to say, blind. Yeah, I'm sure you know these angels, right? And they are used for. Recently, my son returned from Germany, and he brings me this bottle of champagne with a putty on it. Do you know who is a painter and actually where it is? And no? Okay, I will continue classical education. Yeah. So actually, they are part of Raphael Sanzio painting, very large painting of Sixtus Madonna, which is placed in Dresden's gallery. And actually, you can see that these small angels, they're bottom part of this large painting. So, and that's also, when we took it out and we see this painting everywhere, this small part, we probably could start making some. We start thinking, okay, what these small angels, what they are thinking about, etc., and try to do interpretation. But basically, we need to understand the full context and where it's placed. And if we talk about period. I'm selected the works. It's actually like 1400 more, not 1300. It's Proto-Renaissance. It's more Giotto and Cimabue, but we are talking about the early Renaissance painters and then early Baroque painters. And there were two purposes. Sometimes we think why. It's also very important for analysis. It's why the paintings was created. So for what? Why we imagine no one artist created, almost no one created the paintings for their pleasure. So it always was for someone, for nobility. And there were two sources, actually. If we look at for whom it was created, there was a religious art. So we needed a large painting, altar painting in our church. We needed some large painting in monastery. And we will see that maybe the largest and most famous paintings we know, like Veronese's different Last Suppers or Da Vinci Last Supper, it's actually painting on the wall of the dining room of the monks, like refectorium. And another source of demand is a secular world, when the very wealthy and famous people they tried to decorate their homes with paintings. And of course, they wanted to impress their friends and visitors. And so even today, we see a lot of paintings that are in palaces, in villas, in homes of nobilities and rich people. And now we're coming to the, like it was short at the introduction, but if I put it on the one picture, what I will show you. So first, how we could gather this data in different ways, how we could actually extract different things, and I will focus on the five main things, like perspective, color, structure, and composition, and some details of the painting, and then actually how it transformed, and can we classify it? Because if we talk about technology and through the paintings, we need to understand that can technology really help us to understand it, and at the end visualize it, and how? And first of all, where we should start first is like some technical analysis examples, and like in the middle of the last century, there was school of like Todt and Henry van der Waal who created this icon class. Actually, icon class is a classification, it's ontology for all the elements you could have in paintings. For example, do you know what is and there is a code for everything in painting, like skull, like angel. The code for angel is 11G. Yeah, or let me switch to, let's look at some codes. So, yeah, so, I look at for code for dog is 34B11. Dog collar, dog with a bone, yeah, and for each there is a meaning. Let's look for code for angel. Yeah, 11G for angel. Or let's take a code for book. Yeah, and we have the code for book is 49 and 32. Actually, what it means we could decode all the paintings. So we could give LLM painting, like set of paintings, through the Python, of course. I will show how they actually automate it. And you could get readable codes. It means you could make a set of images readable. So you could make, so it was, oh, sorry, I showed you, but it was not, sorry, wait. Yeah, I showed here, code for the book, right, or code for the angel. Yeah, 11G, or code for the dog. So we could classify everything that we have in paintings, and actually it takes all the parts, all the possible parts of the painting, and divide in this code. So actually we could create a database, like here I could show you an Excel file. So for this more than 300 works, here I have this icon class classification. So it helps me to do then quantitative analysis, like I can create searchable, I could search for objects. Actually, I could classify by groups of objects, and I could understand then, and maybe understanding the meaning of the objects, I could also do a deeper classification. And how I tried it out, I actually I used LLM to generate Python code. So, and there is I would say that LLMs actually democratizing the way how we analyze things, because before that technology vendors given us some tools, some low-code tools where we could create machine learning models, simplified versions, some data analytics. But now the LLMs actually helping us, or even more multimodal models helping us to create any kind of solution. So what I did, I created the Python code with Claude, but it could be done with any LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, and then I run it through the one of the Python notebooks. So I recommend the Colab as a Python notebook, and then it actually could connect to any API to grab the data. Like there's many sources, open sources for high resolution pictures. And what it could do, it actually could go connect to the museums and this IPA to WikiArt and collect physically high-resolution pictures, put it in your folder for further analysis, and also populate the Excel file. So who is already doing something like that? Okay, couple of hands, so I will show how to do it. So what you need, so Colab, Google Colab, it's a free Python notebook. Python is a programming language, and you need to run it somewhere. And usually there is a notebook needed. That is how this environment called. So if you will just connect to the Colab, Google Colab, you will see something like now on the screen. And here you just need to paste your Python code. And as example, I just use a Gemini here, and I said, here is my prompt. So generate Python code for Colab Pro for grab population data from gapminder.org and visualize it. So that is what I said. It generated me some code. I say, let's copy it. And I'm pasting it in here. Just if it's not long, you could always do the copy paste. So it's a normal way how to do that. And then here is a button to run. It's actually why it's notebook, because it could be divided in many sections. So not one full code that runs perpetually, but maybe separate code snippets that you need to run in the sequence. For example, to upload file on the first part, then you analyze it, then download images, then generate metadata, then do something. So, and you could run them together, or like now you could just click on this button, and it starts like executing this code. And will show us a result when it's done. Sometimes there could be an error, and that's fine. So again, as we maybe not a Python coders, everyday coders, we could just copy this code, this error, and put in the LLM and say, you generated me code previously, and here is the error. And LLM will say, oh yeah, it's something wrong. Here's the correct version of it. And you do over. So actually, you could really focus on analysis and the result. And let's see, it's executed. You could see there's this check mark in 10 seconds. And what we could see, it's selected data. So in Python, it's very useful because you always could see what's happened. You see the data set, and you could follow and really find if everything done correctly as you wanted it. And it's created the famous, immediately created this famous gapminder visualization when we could see the life expectancy compared to income. So that's how we could use it. So, and all the analysis presented here, I did really in that way. So I generated the code with LLM in several sequences. So until I was happy with the result, and actually it's created me connections to APIs to grab pictures, and also connections to LLMs when you need to analyze picture by picture. For example, when you are connecting to different sources, like there are a lot of open APIs when you can really get high resolution images. Usually these are, they are providing their own collections. For example, if you go to Rijksmuseum, you will get the Rijksmuseum collection. So it's very big, but it's like every museum is specialized. You know that there's a lot of different like artworks across museums. And I used a lot of wiki art because then you can have sources from different museums. And first, getting this icon class classification, codification. So what I did, I selected 25 artworks from 15 selected painters of the period. And then, based on that, I created these icons, first of icon class codes in Excel file, but then out of it, one of the very handy ways how to analyze and visualize is actually ask LLMs to create HTML reports. So actually, you could see that it's an HTML report, and based on my requests and also based on the classification, I just asked to create some report that shows that how these icons classified. You could see that basically I'm asked about the Florence School and Venice. We'll explain shortly why this distinguish this separation, but we could see that there is already some classification, like portraits, classical myths, battles, etc. And most important, here you could see actually painters I selected. It's a Renaissance, Florence, and late Renaissance, Venice. We'll explain why these. And here we can see here codes, and actually we could select this some filters and look at how these codes, and also filter by codes. And it's a very easy way how to actually we could visualize and then verify some data or check data. So I used the HTML version, and it's just like in LLM, I'll write a prompt that asking to convert this data set into HTML version. So it works very well, and visualizing data also very well in this format. And when you select, by selecting all the actually artworks and also doing the classification, I proceed with analysis of how we could analyze. And actually there is one good source reference of analysis of the paintings, especially paintings, because when the paintings was some time ago, scientists started to analyze paintings, and before LLM models, multimodal models, they started the analysis of paintings by computer vision, and particularly there is a type of model called convolutional neural network, CNN model. And they started to analyze it by descriptions, etc. And they found that actually there is a huge bias how these algorithms analyzing paintings, because it seemed that they are like biased by the information they got. And there is an experiment called Gallery GPT. So they selected 15,000 images without descriptions, without names, without any information about paintings. And then they created this database and analyzed it by starting to try to understand what's actually in the painting. Is there objects? What's meaning of this painting, etc. And you can see there is an arXiv. You could find actually on arXiv this original article about it and read and try. And there is even GitHub source when you could probably restore this database and what they did. But most important out of it, so they used some GPT models, but actually out of this, the way the best model for analysis of picture is a ChatGPT for vision. Now, it's a not separate model. You will not find, if you will open ChatGPT, you will find like latest models. They're GPT 5.5, 5.6, or something like latest models. And actually, we call them multimodal models right now because this ChatGPT for Vision is inside it. So you don't need to click picture image to analyze image. So it's actually inside, so you could start analyzing. So it's a little bit weird, but it's maybe easy when you analyze picture. You could select picture, right? But it's inside, so that is how, and it's more reliable model. So I tried out Nano Banana. Actually, Nano Banana is very good and known for generating pictures, really thinking about parts of the pictures, not some pixel fusions, right? Understanding what should be inside the picture, but it's not so good of analysis of the picture. So, and that is what I find out, that ChatGPT for Vision, that's the right model to do, and I started analysis. So what to analyze? And there are 5 dimensions of analysis: perspective, composition, color, materiality, iconography, and I started with some selected pictures, smaller set before, and the painters. You could see famous Florence painters, who started with introducing perspective, and then actually, when we start looking at these painters and analyzing them in this set, we could start thinking that, okay, these first on the top, they are more as they are painted as mainly using lines, right, and then coloring inside, and that is what they call in Florence disegno, right? It's a more like design or drawing. And later, if you look at these last painters in this list from Venetian school, not Rubens, but from Venetian schools, they are mostly known for the color and expression and light. So if you look at selected painters, so you could see here they're more or less in the same time, of course, in a 200 years period, and they lived mostly in Italy, in the north of Italy, of course. That is where we are talking about Florence and Rome, and then about Venetian school. So what we could do then? So we actually could. If we look at this gallery GPT, we could create description of or the enhanced description of the painting. So instead of description we have on the wall near painting, you can use GPT for Vision or any GPT model and actually create the painting. So I'm trying to, and if you try to do it for like this Masaccio painting, from the Brancacci chapel in Florence, you could generate a lot of. So I selected, I overwhelmed. So don't read it. Yeah, it's more to show you how much text you could generate. And actually, I read it and tried to compare with what the art historians are saying, and it looks very accurate. Same for already known picture here, right? The Oculus by Andrea Mantegna. So again, we have this description, and it understands that what's inside the picture, can describe it and show it. So it works with description. So we could convert the image into description. But let's start looking deeper. So, and one of the inventions of Renaissance is, of course, linear perspective. Yeah, you remember probably this. Why the Florence dome here is because Filippo Brunelleschi is by the history, by the legend, is a creator of finder, discoverer of linear perspective. So if you look at the paintings before that time, for example, Giotto paintings, so you will see that this is from the perspective sense, it's somehow not realistic. So the Florentines, they discovered rules of perspective, and actually they were able to create a realistic three-dimensional picture in two-dimensional paper, let's say, or canvas. Or on that time, most of the Florentine works was prepared on the wooden pails. So, and starting by perspective, that's another way how we could start analyzing pictures. So what I did, I said to ChatGPT, I said, take this picture and try put perspective lines on top of this image. And this is a famous painting of Andrea Mantegna in Pinacoteca Brera in Milan. So you could see that, and it's not a big painting, but every time when you look at it, it actually makes like feeling that you are like going deep. So this perspective is created. So good. And we could see how the lines actually were the vanishing point and how the lines here are constructed. And that gives us additional metadata of analysis of this painting. Or, as the art historians claim, this is the first time in history when linear perspective used in painting. And it's a painting of Trinity by Masaccio in Church of Santa Maria Novella in Florence. And you could see that actually when you're staying, it's on the wall. And the purpose of this painting was that there were no room for chapels, and donators, they wanted, you can see donators there on both sides, on the first level, and they wanted that it looks like a chapel. And actually, Masaccio created this feeling, when you look at this painting, you feel that there is it's not a wall, there is some, because of this perspective, there is some room inside this, inside this painting. So that's where this perspective, and again, you could see these lines constructed by ChatGPT, created these lines, maybe not from the first time, I must confess, a little bit guidance, but it constructed it. So in this painting, probably it's easy to see it and construct using this curved roof here, or not the ceiling, or ceiling. And if we go further and look at the Florentine paintings, we could, and here again, we can see these perspective lines. So Florentine painters, especially in that Quattrocento or 1400 period, they actually tried to create story, and they described, so they basically created these paintings as in this case, fresco, as a story, as a modern comics, right? That even in this fresco, we can see that there is some part missing, but there is multiple actions happening in the same time. Or here we can see it's probably, if you don't know, it's fresco by Pietro Perugino, and it's very hard to probably remember where it is located. Do you know where it's located? Can you imagine? And if I will say you where it is, you will not believe me. It's from Sistine Chapel. And you see Sistine Chapel, it's where Michelangelo Last Judgment and the ceiling and everything. But if you make more attention, you will see that there's around 12 large frescoes on the wall of Sistine Chapel. And before it was there before Michelangelo created his works, and one of the Perugino works, and the Florentine painters who created it. And again, trying to do analysis on top of it, we could see that linear perspective, we could see different elements of it, we could see here in the middle these some symbols we could start recognizing from this story, like two keys, usually using here golden and silver. silver from the heaven, and golden from the heaven, and silver from the earth. And again, if we look at and start analyzing these things, so I found that we could technically quite good, in a good way, do this analysis, and then coming to the, let's say, how we could use it. So one of the perspectives usually used in that period is that that Florentine art is usually describing some story and showing harmony because of the perspective, because of all the elements using and telling story. It's actually like a visualization of book, a visualization of something. And the Venetian art later, like 50 years later, after High Renaissance, like Titian, Titian lived in intersection with Michelangelo, for example, to understand. So old Michelangelo met 2 times in a lifetime Titian, like in his Middle Ages. The 20 years of their lives overlapped. And the Venetian school, they more express it in the colors, in poetics and music. So it's like differently. And here we can see the like same story here. This is adoration of Magi, when the Magi's are coming to and bringing the gifts to the child Jesus. So same story, but we could see how the expression changes. And if we look closer to the colors, we could see that actually, we could see in Florentine paintings, we could see these lines, that they are very clear. Objects are distinguished very clearly. But when it comes to colors, so it's actually, there is no lines, almost no lines, so colors are overlapping. And that is what made difficult analysis of by convolutional neural networks, because they try to find these lines of where the color is and next color is ending. And you will see that even more difficult when we talk about Impressionists. So first analysis of this selected work, what I did, it's actually on the scatter chart, I tried to classify them, these works, which are more like story-based and which are more poetics-based, so emotional, and try to visualize in a different way. So, and not satisfied with the results, I continuing analysis and combining it together with this iconoclast codes, and looking more deeper in some works. So here you could see the works by Carlo Crivelli on the right, and this is Melozzo de Forlì on the left. So we could, again, the perspective, there is no question about perspective, right? I don't even need to put any lines, so it's so clear. And maybe the highest point of the perspective is Piero della Francesca, when actually the highest point when they said, okay, I could create really the visual impression of the space, yeah. And if you look at this famous Piero della Francesca's painting, Flagellation, so you could see there's a projection of 3D image, actually, if you transfer in 3D world, how it looks like. And probably the most famous known painter of who adored the perspective is Paolo Cello. So he was so obsessed with perspective that his wife argued, saying that he's sleeping and saying, oh, this sweet perspective. So in his dreams, and his wife was angry about his obsession about perspective. And in this picture, you could see these here. Yeah. They are not, these spheres, they are not placed somehow, right, in this bottle. They're actually placed to show perspective to the viewer. So, and yeah, different examples of perspective, again, an explanation that algorithms could show us. For example, here in the School of Athens by Raphael, and even more explaining some characters we have here. So we could get out of the visual analysis of the picture. And probably are also very known picture, this, and that is where the vanishing point is. And that is how Leonardo expected that we will focus, that everything is bringing our focus to the Jesus. And just one sidekick I wanted to show you, that sometimes we look at this picture, when we see these pictures so many times and we analyzing them, and of course for visual analysis it's enough, it's good. But as for humans, and definitely we need to add this human part to any analysis, is understand where it's placed. So, and that is how it looks originally here on the left. So it's a part of the large room, actually, a large refectorium, which is dining room, eating room for monks, and it's on the wall. So it's, when you see it in life, it makes different impression. And the interesting thing about it, that is on the right, you can see how it looked after Ali's bombing in Milan after World War II. So actually they saved this place. So they put this scaffold out, that all the chapel was bombed, and only one side was left, and that with a fresco of Leonardo. So that's amazing saving. So now we understand how the Florentines, so they were very precise in drawing. They used perspective at this best. There is no one better than them. So they put inside the story that you could see it, read it. Of course, if you understand, there are more, some mythological stories when you need more context. But you could read them, you could understand them. And then if you're going more to the north, to the Venice, we start seeing a little bit different movement, where we have painters who said, okay, perspective is nice, we will use it, everything is nice, but color is more important. Yeah, and there is and always there are sayings that Florence, like Michelangelo, is best in drawing, like disegno, and Titian is best in colore. And there were painter Jacopo Tintoretto who placed on this doors, he said, disegno as design as drawing as Michelangelo, colorless like Titian. And this painting, again, it's by Paolo Veronese. It's painting like previous one for refectorium, and if we analyze this, the colors of the painting and the story, actually what's interesting about it, that it was originally, the name was Last Supper, but then Inquisition of Venice said, Paolo Veronese, you are mad. What do you mean by what Last Supper? Who is there? Jesus. And who are these 20 more persons and drunken Germans here, and someone, and this, and a small guy with a parrot, and they start questioning him. And there is a description of this process when he explains, and he explained it, that there is a lot of room. I wanted to put people there, and why there is these guys. It's like common for nobility in nowadays, and he needed to rename this painting. So now it's the first in House of Levi. So he didn't change anything in the painting, because Inquisition said to him to change the painting, but he didn't change anything, just name. And now it's in. I think it's in the Galleria Accademia in Venice. But what is important is we started to look at the something more than original story. So it's not maybe so important that it's just this main topic. And here's another painting of Veronese, now in Louvre, in Paris. So same idea. And this is wedding first at Cana. Again, mainly as an idea of a Last Supper, but we can see the dogs here, right? Do you remember the iconoclast dog code for dog? Not yet, but probably later. So there's a lot of a lot of allegory. So, and coming to the conclusion, so we could say that at some point we have the story for the Florentine art, and more for Venetian art, it's a poetry or colors. So we can't anymore explain it by story. So you could read probably book about this painting of Titian, but still don't understand, don't feel it, right? Because it's not about Venetian painting at this time. Not previously, it was Bellini and other painters, but then at this time, it's more, you can't understand it through the just story. You need to read poetry. And here what I did, I just asked ChatGPT to generate poetry, some sonnet out of this picture. So you could read, yeah? So Bacchus sleeps first started, Ariadne turns his crimson mantle kindly by the sky. And when you start reading this poem, poetics, so you start poetry, so you could start feelings, so you could start like bring this picture through and feel it differently. So another probably story to understand how we could understand some painting through the poetry. So this is a famous painting of Tintoretto in Doge Palace in Venice, Paradise. So it's huge. If you've been there, it's a huge, like 20 meters, and there are 300 figures. 300. And can you see the perspective here? There is no clear perspective, right? There's so many lines of different perspective. And actually, it's a representation of paradise. So we can't understand it by technical metrics. We could just put it in some poetry words, like you could see here. You could read above, again, generated. So I generated this text out of the image, and like it ends with drawn and ward by eternal light. And when you really read these lines, you start seeing this eternal light. And actually, it brings us to ideas that, okay, there is some sequence in this, and here is a turning point, I would say, is like Tintoretto, because like turning point between Renaissance art and Impressionism later. And you could see also these examples when we have Filippo Lippi, and again, we can see these lines, exact lines, and then we can see that unfinished painting, where we have this emotions more, and then Impressionism as a full emotion of it. And Tintoretto influenced a lot of other later painters, and probably the most important Rubens. And again, if we look at the Rubens as one of the first painters who combined all these together, like perspective and techniques and emotions and poetry together. And here we could see one of the famous paintings of Olof Phaeton, right? You could see that, again, you could see poetry here, and different things that we can understand it through the poetics. Actually, the idea of it is that you need to be modest, so don't, the idea of painting, be modest, don't be so self-expressed, etc. And on top of, out of it, what I did, I actually created again, Python script to classify works based, can I classify works that are they more story-based or the poetry-based? And so there is a couple of slides still. So, and again, I generated the HTML report out of it. So a lot of different 325 works. And main chart, probably this one, when you could see on the horizontal axis, there is a story, so narrative spatial score. And you could see that, we can see that painters, and here we can Leonardo and Titian, and Michelangelo, and on the y-axis we have poetry. So this corner you could see it's a poetic, most poetic part, and we have different signs. Round, the round is for Florence School, and this diamond is for Venice School. And we could see that mostly we have the Venice painters here: Tintoretto, Giorgione, Titian, Bellini, Giorgione again, etc. And more on this descriptive part, we have the Florentine artists like Michelangelo, Masaccio, Ghirlandaio, and others. So that was what I tried to do here is classify these works to understand, can I classify by using all these elements of different analysis and putting all them together, can I classify saying that it's more story-based or it's more poetic-based? So there's also analysis by each of painters. You could see that, again, there is a score of this. So it's more poetry or story-based, so by each of the painters. So it's given me understanding how actually to understand, how to read these paintings and how to analyze. And here is even more detailed, list when you could click on each of the paintings, look at it, and see the score, and then analyze it. So if we like take this poetic chromatic, so no narrative poetic part, and look at the highest score. Like 95%, like this one. Yeah, we can see that it's like we can describe it more as a poetry. And finishing it up, we are getting back to what is art and how to understand it, at least paintings. And of course, my conclusion is that technology can help us understand art more. And you've seen that there are more different techniques that probably you need to read so much books to understand it. And now it gives us this understanding very quickly if we know what to look for, what we are looking for. And my experience shows that when you are going to any of museums, you can't see more than maybe 10 paintings. So when I'm going to National Gallery in London, I say to myself that I will look at 5 paintings. And I decide which 5. And I'm going through the halls and directly to the hall what I want to see. Because you know this feeling when you are going 15 or 20 minutes through the museum and you are like overwhelmed with this art, and it seems that all the paintings are the same, right? So you are all overwhelmed. So like you need to be very selective. And it means that we could analyze paintings and we could do a lot of stuff, but at the end we need to go and see these paintings in life, in an environment where it is And my recommendation, if you haven't been there, so it's a Villa Masser in Veneto region. So we constructed by Andrea Palladio, and that is where you could find paintings of, there is a, let's say, some synergy of architecture and painting. Well, Paolo Veronese worked together with Andrea Palladio, creating all these paintings. You could see that there's a lot of architecture elements, and they are all painted on the walls. So actually, this classical architecture by Andrea Palladio is inside of works of Paolo Veronese. So it's very different experience to see the works where they actually create, they belong, and when for what they were created. And here, this building, this is the last work of Andrea Palladio. Like near, when you're looking at the Villa Masser, you just look at the right, and you will see at the end of street this magnificent building. Yeah, that's all what I wanted to tell you today, and hope it gives some insights and ideas maybe for your analysis and in the next days. And now I think we have time for questions.
Thank you so much, Aldis. I think I already have a lot of questions, but first to the audience, are you still thinking about your first question? Or
yeah,
raise your hand.
A gift for first question. So remember this painting, Raphael painting of Sixtus Madonna. So I created the 3D printed Sixtus Madonna. So first question will get a small gift.
Wow. Yeah.
And you want to ask
No.
first question?
I'm just kidding. I see a hand.
Thank you so much for the lecture. I have many questions, but hopefully I will find a way to ask them all. Well, the first one would be, what kind of criteria have you used to analyze bias? And it is connected to another question. What kind of prompt structure do you use to generate these kind of descriptions? So probably it's interconnected.
Yeah, all the prompts was actually quite simple, like straightforward. If I needed to get out codes or classify them according story or this poetry, so explain it what it means, but they were not long, so they're quite straightforward stories, prompts. And when you do it in steps, not in one prompt, trying to put everything in one prompt, so it works quite well. So you do step by step, and you could think after, so not trying to put everything and say, give me some nice visualization, okay, that works. So as you've seen, I needed to do parallelly, and maybe I did a prompt per day, maybe less. Prompt in a couple of days, because you do the prompt and then you need to go and study a little bit about it, right? And the main reason I provided is this for the story, that if there is elements of icon class and also this elements of perspective and some the structuring elements, that is what they described. It's giving a score more for the story based, and of course there is a generated explanation of each image, and LLM could understand, is it tellable story or it's something mythical, like mythical thing. So that is how I created this score of story versus poetry. And finding, so the longest time took this discovery that actually you need, if on one side it was very easy with the structure, with the story part, because it's easy. If the clear story behind the painting, it's one score, it's one side. But it was very hard for me to understand this other part, this point, that actually on the other side, it's not color, because I started with a color, emotions, and stuff. But it was just parameters of, the result actually need to be just explainable in poetry, that it was on the other side of the score. Yeah, I try to analyze myself, looking at the exact pictures, and also try to run some tests, saying that can you look at these? Are they really on this side or on this side? But basically, I needed to go through the 325 picture is amount. I did it by hand actually at the end. I created the window and I could quickly click through and do some labeling, additional labeling. Yeah, thank you. So, and yeah.
Prize for the first question goes to, say your name please as well.
Thank you so much, Zlata.
Okay. Yeah, are there any art historians in the audience? By the way, now I will definitely get your question, but I imagine if there were art historians, they were most skeptical about this. Are there any museum specialists? I know that more people from libraries, history museums, but maybe like no one is angry at this point. Just curious.
Yeah. Give me this criticism, so skepticism. So that's what we want. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Nadia, and my question is. You looked at very popular art. First, you said you like these 300 pictures of like very big historical value and relevance. Have you looked at any art from the period that maybe does not have that much analysis already done by humans that is online? Like for a lot of these, there will already be references about description texts and about the perspective lines and everything. But how does the LLM hold up when there's nothing made by humans that it can rely on?
Yeah, I didn't, but these guys from this gallery GPT, they did. So I based mostly on their article, on their findings, and they did this analysis for 15,000 different periods, different art, not providing to GPT any kind of, let's say, references and materials. So in this sense, we could say that I cheated a little bit, right, providing some information. But I mainly try to do my classification based on the description of visual analysis by GPT for vision. So I don't know if GPT also look at some external references, like there's tons of description, of course, about any of these paintings. I don't know. I didn't check it. Didn't ask that. Are you going and looking? I tried to use direct API call to OpenAI that just for picture analysis. But these guys, you could look at their article, Gallery GPT. They did this proper analysis of. Just understanding the artistic value of these paintings, and not just these famous ones I selected.
So is there a next question already? Maybe someone can look at Zoom if there are any questions.
Hi, my name is Jackie. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. My question is, how does this quantitative or data analytical method enrich the conventional art history? I'm sorry if somebody already has addressed. So am I correct to, and what do you mean by understanding art? Is it, I know that you mentioned a classification, and does that mean the categorizing, classifying art lead to understanding art?
Yeah, what's for me is through this work, how can I now define understanding art? And understanding art, when you're looking at any picture, yeah, you name it, select one, etc. So it's a question how it's projected in your understanding. So what's in your brains currently? There is some model of the world, right? And if you're looking at any picture, you can translate it and get emotions that are behind the story you know about this picture, or there is some historical fact behind of this picture. So that is what works of art give us, this understanding of the world, or as I said at the beginning, so every of these paintings is like a window to that time when it was created, like Botticelli. Yeah, we will, all of us will say it's Renaissance painter, right? But it's not typical Renaissance painter, because he didn't use perspective almost at all. Not in his paintings, you will not find the perspective. He was not obsessed by that, and he lived in the time when everyone else, or most of the painters in Florence, used that. So it's a window to that time, and that gives us understanding of the world. So of the meaning of the symbols of the life of people, how they lived, what was their idioms at that time. Because if we look at the modern like art or things, maybe things, when I say something like politician, what do you imagine? What brings first in your mind? For some, it's something very good. For some, it's maybe not something very good. Same here. When we look at these pictures, we think about Venus. Who was she? Why was she? And etc. So that's what art gives us, understanding of the world, because many people before us tried to do that, right? And they put it on the like canvas and as a works of art.
Thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Eleni. I'm interested to know whether you're also interested for the interpretation level of the paintings, because you mentioned that you used icon class, I think,
yes,
for the entities that appear in paintings. So are there also properties that connect these entities together? Are you interested in, the depiction of the actual painting through a database?
You mean if this icon class codes use it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were used for classification of this. The icon class codes gives the possibility that you could say, is it more structured story on the painting, or it's something more unstructured and like this, like it's harder to describe it as a story, right? That's where icon class helped.
Okay. Thank you. No, that was the question. Thanks.
Hello, thanks for the presentation. I'm Simon. Did you also do a meta-analysis of different models? Because I noticed that at first your presentation had a Google Nano Banana in the title, but today it did not. So apparently you changed, or you tried out different models.
Yeah,
can you say something about that? Thank you.
Yeah, I started with a Nano Banana, Nano Banana 2, and then with Claude, also with Claude, and latest models, including Fable, and I tried different models, and actually the GPT worked out the best. I really tried a lot. When I started with perspective lines, so I tried to create perspective lines with all the models, and I found out that GPT is working actually the best. And then I came to this Gallery GPT article, and that is how I switched from Nano Banana to GPT for vision.
Thank you. I have a question about, maybe a bit curious, how to develop this score, because many artists have early period or late, and it's the works strongly differ from how it's created. For example, Michelangelo, it's probably, I'm not very educated in art history, so, but I know that, for example, early works are different from late periods. So it's middle temperature in the hospital, or?
Yeah, it's a good question, and here you could probably see the answer. Of course, the painters are becoming more mature and even maybe changing their style during their lifetime, and that's okay for my analysis, because I'm not saying I didn't want to classify put a painter in one box. That is, it's just like storyteller, right? But there are, you could see that there are works that are more story-based for the painter, and the works that more like poetry-based, as I classifying them. And if we look at the Michelangelo, for example, so we have Michelangelo in this here. Michelangelo, we could see that there is a very narrow score range, and basically we know that Michelangelo is actually, as he stated many times, that he's not painter, right? He's a sculptor, but he was like very universal, creating architecture and paintings as well. But we know his paintings mainly as a story, right? Where we could find his paintings is a Sistine Chapel, yeah, it's a Pauline Chapel in Vatican, and what else? Yeah, from these paintings. So, and they are story-based mainly. Yeah, Last Judgment, and it's actually and ceilings of the Sistine Chapels. It's mainly like a visualized Bible, right? But if we talk about other paintings like Giorgione, you could see that there's a huge range, and that's again, or even Titian, right, who is like one of the representatives of the Venetian school, as art historians write about him, that he was painter of princes and prince of painters. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Christian. Thanks for the presentation. I was curious, in your experience, what is the accuracy of this method? Because from what I understand, like LLMs are already pretty good at labeling dog as a dog, but on a more like interpretative level, were you worried that they hallucinate?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, and I also try to understand how to define it, and of course it depends on the goal, and the goal I said to myself, the goal can't be that I say, okay, LLM is totally right, it's a final judgment and interpretation, and I said immediately to myself, no, it can't be your support for understanding and quantitative analysis of art. And out of all of this that I showed you, I found the most reliable and the most useful its classification by this icon class, when you could actually create a large data set of paintings and then create, for example, Power BI report, when you could find all the paintings with these elements. So actually you could create a report where you could say, show me all the paintings with a convex mirror, or show me all the paintings with Madonna, or show me all the paintings with skulls or bones and stuff like that. So that was, I would say, that is a most useful thing I found out. And then all these scores that I tried in different ways to calculate. They are, of course, with some error. I don't calculate it statistically, the error range, but more I try to verify this hypothesis of the storytellers and the poetry as these colors and emotions that are on the Venetian side.
Maybe last question from the audience. Yeah, we run out of time.
I hope it provoked you to thinking, and that my main goal was to create like provoking you to think about it and this possibility of this analysis. I don't say that it's like exactly what you need to do or that it's the right thing to do. So I tried it out. You see how it works. So
among my many questions, I guess I asked this one last because I know that you've been advising institutions for what tools to use, and we at the National Library also trying to use various LLMs and multimodal models also for classifying images. But we started with the previous generation models such as CLIP because we don't know yet whether we can use these modern models safely, because these are not open access images. These are copyright restricted and so on. And also because maybe we don't know yet how much we can spend on these models. But if some museum or the library or archive would be looking at the first steps for classifying their collections, towards which technologies they should look toward, like GPT, or there's something else that you would?
Yeah, currently of all my like tries and findings, I will recommend, like if I need to answer very practically, I would recommend to place this OpenAI model, one of the latest, somewhere in your private cloud, like in Microsoft Foundry. You could deploy this model and it will just for you, so no information will leave it. So, and it's maybe most reasonable for the pricing, so it could cost you a couple of 10,000 per year, probably something like that, like I don't know, 20, 40, in that range.
Okay, and now I will remind you that on Thursday we will have a workshop where we will work with LLMs and Google Colab. Actually, something quite similar to what we saw today, so it's a good connection, I guess. And now let's go another round of applause to Aldis, and thank you so much.
Thank you.